In May 1967, Benue and Plateau provinces were merged to form the large Benue Plateau state. Then Nigeria had just 12 states. After the Civil War, it was one of the large states that were split up.
When the state was created in 1968, Plateau State, along with others, we had always, in this part of the world, been looking at ourselves as tribes on the middle belt of Nigeria as underdogs. We always felt at that time that the far northern part of this country, or of the north, the core northern part of the north, were not fair on us. So we fought to get the Middle Belt region. We didn't get the Middle Belt region. But God created a situation. Then we had one of our own as the head of the federal government, General Yakubu Gowon. States were created.
And so Jos was created. The original name of the state's capital, Jos, was actually Gwash, but it was wrongly pronounced as Jos by the Hausa people who settled on the site and made it a trading center. In fact, nearly all the ethnic groups in Nigeria are present in Jos. Jos is known for its beautiful scenery, pleasant climate, and friendly people. After gaining their independence as a state, the people wanted more for themselves.
We wanted a university college, and we had so many children qualified to get into university. And because of the quota system, we couldn't get all our qualified students to get into the university. So we wanted one for ourselves, and at least to start with this college of a university. We weren't given. So in Ibadan, Governor Gomak then brought some of us. Aliyu Doma, the former governor of Nasarawa State. Mr. Gogwin, I was there with them. Sultan Minor. Anyway, many others. We then sat and discussed and went to Ibadan.
We thought, we had, we could, go to Zaria, but I think there was miscommunication, and there was a little bit of delay, and I was quite young then, and young people, you want to get things done, and not, answer questions here and there, I think by and large, that was responsible for this. So Ibadan, the first person to respond, up. So it goes.
The Vice Chancellor at that time, whom I met much later, was Professor Lambo. And Professor Lambo was excited that this, the old boy who wanted to start something good, and there wasn't a lot of money. And he did something very unique. He took the funds for research. I don't think many people know this, and I'm saying it for the first time publicly. Professor Lambo actually took the funds for research, and that is what he gave to J.D. Gumwork to start the university. And of course, J.D. Gumwork added his own. And that's how the university actually started.
I couldn't, think of, starting our own education, not, with the meager resources we were, receiving at that time. So start somewhere and start with an institute. Why not? And of course, start by inviting the big boy to come. And that's how it came.
The location of the university made it very possible for many students to live within their community. And it was quite interactive because you not only have a sense of the environment, you have a sense of the community. And it was quite good.
We had to travel miles and miles to be able to go for further studies because only few people who were very clever could get the very limited spaces in the University of Ibadan then.
It first came in as a campus, and then today it's a university. Believe me, from day one, I knew it was going to be a university. Yatandu, ambajinga ibo benge, ambaji yatandu ibo be. Adanego, andeyakanedo.
We started in Gangare, Jos. Were so many that it rapidly grew. Even the foreigners, lecturers, because of our condition, the atmospheric condition was so good that lecturers were applying to come.
At that time, one Professor Emmanuel Ayandele was said to be the principal of this place. It wasn't the Vice Chancellor because the Vice Chancellor is at Ibadan. We were at the Murtala Mohammed campus. We just had some office blocks. There were no laboratories, a few classrooms. So we took turns in teaching. But whenever we wanted to demonstrate anything, we had to send for materials and specimens from University of Ibadan. And they were obliging us because this is their own product. So we worked with him until they appointed Professor Gilbert Onagulichi as the first Vice Chancellor of University of Jos in 1976.
There is some peculiarity with the University of Jos. There was this principle of town and gown. One would ordinarily think that the university should have been sited outside the town, but it was in the heart of the town. They established the campus. They wanted a mixture of the culture of the people and that of the academia. That was a very good idea.
The very first congregation for the conferment of any degree is here, and that is for the Chancellor. That's His Highness Chief Douglas Jaja, the Amayam Botnabo of Opobo. That was done in January 1979, 26 and 27. We also had a few awards as a starting university because that was the first ever congregation and convocation combined together.
We're a very, very diverse campus or university. We had lecturers from all over the world, east, north, west, south, and all over. I can go on to even call some of the names.
equally we had students from all over the world. Some of the very famous names that I would mention that came to lecture in JOS, for which this excellence is being talked about. You know, the late Professor Ali Mazri was a research professor in JOS, and in my final year supervised my good friend. You know, of course, you also know that we had, he's now the chief vice chairman of the Anambra State Traditional Council, Vincent Chukwuemeka Ike. He went on to become a WAEC registrar and all of those things. They all lectured here. So we had an assemblage of some of the very best. There was this Somali person, National, Nuruddin Farah. He lectured here, and I understand that he has since gone on, moved on, and had been nominated for the Nobel Prize a couple of times, if not twice. So, and there was that commitment. There was that sense of belonging to the academic family. Even for the students, I imagine what it was for the staff. We saw them all very happy, working very hard. And then we had lots of grants right from the beginning, international grants. And under those grants, staff were now trained abroad. So most of the professors in the university in the 70s, in the 80s, right up to the 90s, you would find had perhaps their first degrees and perhaps a few others, masters in Nigeria. Most of them, overwhelming number, had their doctorates in the US, in Europe, in Japan, all over the world, Australia. And so if you had that kind of diversity of training and of the ideas that were brought back to the university, it would serve to explain the success that this university and the quality of the graduates that this university has produced. I have no doubt in my mind about that. I know, for instance, in my own department of zoology, in the 1970s, we became a regional training center for medical entomology for all of West Africa, funded fully by WHO. So, and when I came on board, I was a product of that program, and I can tell you many other people who went through that product, not just in Nigeria, in West Africa, who have gone on to become very successful, very well established in their disciplines, and continue to sit on panels of the World Health Organization. I have consulted for World Health Organization. I've consulted for the African Program on Onchocerciasis. I've consulted for the Federal Ministry of Health. I still do that. As a matter of fact, as I'm talking with you now, I'm a member of the National Malaria Elimination Program. I'm also a member of the National Onchocerciasis Elimination Programs, currently even as a Vice Chancellor. So, and I know of several other people that train here in JOS. We had these opportunities. Some of us were sponsored by WHO. We went and trained overseas, and we returned. And we've stayed here very faithfully and continuing to make sure that those standards are upheld. And don't forget, the Tertiary Education Fund, the intervention, it's been phenomenal. As I speak with you now, since 2011 to date, TED Fund has helped this university particularly to train about 333 staff of the university for masters and doctorate. For the masters, of that number, about 187 have been trained for masters within and outside the country, but mostly outside the country. So it begins to enrich them, it begins to expose them to what is available in other institutions, in other facilities, in other libraries, and so on and so forth. And as their horizons are widened, enlarged, they come back full of ideas, burst of ideas, and they are ready to work.
Pioneer students of what was then University of UniJos campus?
Happened to be number one at the university, 0001. My name being Abba. Alphabetically, I became number 1001 as the first student ever of the University of Ibadan JOS campus. We started this in 1972.
We are foundation students of University of Ibadan JOS campus. My number was 029. as my matric number. We started until about 75 when they wanted to establish the University of Jos. And we said, we applied to the University of Ibadan. So we want to have Jos degree. So we boycotted lectures for 2 weeks. We boycotted, went on hunger strike. The university finally was forced to arrange lots of buses that carried us, about 200 or so of us, were carried from Jos to the University of Ibadan. Just part 2.
We were really pioneers in many ways because there was no physical space. We were just given a physical space in Naraguta Street that had to be converted, and it was being converted while we were there into classrooms, into library, into hostels, and so on. And our cafeteria at that time was somewhere where you now have, I think, the female medical hostel, female medical students hostel. Yes. That's just about cafeteria. So we used to walk from that place to go and eat there 3 times a day. But it was all in good spirit. It was a very, very exciting experience for us. We had, I think, an extraordinary esprit de corps that I don't think you find anywhere, anytime anymore. Because we are all from all over the country. It was a very pan-Nigerian set.
That era of getting together to the mini Nigeria, as I say, mini Nigeria, everywhere people came, were friends, everybody from the south, from the southwest, east, southeast, everywhere in the north, every place. And we knew ourselves, a close-knit group, we made fun. As we heard him, he made a mistake by saying Naraguta Street. No, we used to call it Queen Elizabeth Road. No. Now Yakubu Gawan, yeah, but the railway station. Yes, okay. That's what they call it, Bauchi, Gengere. That's how we started. It wasn't actually Naraguta. So those buildings were converted into hostels, then lecture rooms, and we had the joy of trekking across to that bookshop. That place.
Yeah.
After there used to be a Kingsway, right? Kingsway. Yeah. We walk across all the way, right? Kingsway, come around by beach road or whatever, then go to eat. The experience was very good. We didn't mind. We were happy. We liked it.
Oh, you can tell me the ocean is illusional and dreadful, but this plan is something really beautiful.
We're very few about
124.
We are so few, we know everybody know each other. We are brothers and sisters. We know the lecturers. We had direct rapport with the lecturers. We used to make a lot of fun with some of our students and lecturers. We used to call them names and had very good, funny nicknames for them and those names. Everything now. I went to Jos. He's great in America, but anytime he comes to Nigeria, he used to visit me. He's based in Benue. There's no day we don't speak. No person without me, I don't go to Benue come here to see me. I have to tell you, more than 40 years ago.
43 now, I think.
Let's maintain that relationship, that friendship, as if we're brothers.
My name was Tosso, and a long Tosso. The term is not fatal. When we leave, after we were so long,
and my other name was Heavy. Heavy. I'm extraordinarily impressed by the sheer size of the campus, of the campus or the University of Jos itself. And I hope that one day they will finish all the construction and so on. But I was very, very impressed. When I came to Jos this time, Jos was like 20 times the Jos I knew. I've seen the physical structures. My prayer is that we're able to finish the physical structures. Actually, Jos has done a lot of work, actually, but it's not recognized. Jos University was one of the first universities to employ a certificated traditional practitioner, you know, and she was the one who discovered the drug that is used for birth control. And I'm not sure what JOS has done with it. But if I was in a better position, just ought to have patented it, claimed it, modernized it, and put it in the market.
The University of Jos was fortunate and blessed to have passionate and dedicated founding fathers, vice-chancellors, professors, and lecturers over the course of its existence. These people contributed immensely to the growth of the university, from infrastructure to staff strength to the quality of degrees and high standard of learning.
We did some development, physical development, but not as well as I would have loved to. We have the Bauchi Road campus, the arts faculty, social sciences faculty, and so. And then refurbished the science faculty, the Bauchi Road. Then, of course, the students' village, and then the staff accommodation along Zaria Road. About five faculties. That's science, natural sciences, medicine, arts. Law was just starting. Law was not a faculty, it was a department within the social sciences. And then we have social sciences to the background.
The Faculty of Law today at the university was actually the workshop of the university when I came. And I felt that that wasn't right. There's so much noise coming from there. So I decided to look for a place to relocate the estate. And from the space created, we now set out to draw a faculty and got the internal architects to design the faculty to build what is now the Faculty of Law. That is the faculty and the law auditorium. I was able to build the Faculty of Science. Those new science laboratories were structures that I built, as botany and zoology, chemistry and physics. They were structures that I built. And also we started the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences. When you leave a place of work, you want to give the people who have taken over from you a freedom. I felt that I should not be too prominent in the university so that the university would find its way and forge ahead.
I visit the university virtually every week. I go to the registrar's office and find out what the problem, who is giving trouble, and if you are giving trouble, they just give me the name. I'll go there and talk with you. If you want to spoil this university, we are not going to tolerate you around this area. You cannot do it.
We tried our best and maintained discipline. You know, we maintained discipline with love and in love, because we are not. The intention is not when we talk about examination malpractice committee or disciplinary committee, it was not to punish somebody to the extent that he cannot recover, but with counseling. But then the rules must be kept.
When I came from ABU, the first thing I noticed was the congestion. I saw students hanging on windowsills. I brought the proposal that Bauchi Road campus is too congested. I said, let's start small and see how it goes. We were able to start it, and we were able to get funding little by little, and we were able to complete that permanent site. And when it was open and students entered, they were so happy because instead of straining their necks over windows and so on, they were all comfortable. And of course, there was space for everybody.
I also inherited a good background infrastructure for the development of ICT in the university from my predecessor, which, by the way, was one of the things that caused us to qualify for the Carnegie Award. Also, the Ornithological Institute. Again, the background work was done by my predecessor. They actually commenced under me. I moved the Faculty of Education to the permanent site. And actually, when I started, people were laughing. Nobody believed it was going to work. I started environmental faculty. I got it to 60–70% completion. The Carnegie relationship, it changed the university. The FM that they now have in the university, gender, it was under my tenure that Senate approved the current gender policy. My successor toured and then took it to council. So I think I did a few things. Let me stop there.
If you follow the history of University of Jos, you know that I elevated this university to the second highest position in the country on the Webometric ranking, which is the highest the university has ever attained.
I think a significant amount of transformations have taken place in terms of physical infrastructure, for example. I mean, when we were there, like the whole campus was in Bauchi Road, and you have this mini campus in the permanent site, as they call it. But today you have a whole lot of infrastructure being constructed on almost daily basis, or rather a yearly basis in that part of the city.
In my own opinion, I will go back again to what I said, that if Buhari comes in 2015 and he's selecting people, and he selects people from different universities, and Jos has to, it means that the university is doing very well. There are only 11 of those people, I think how many? Yeah? And Jos has 2 of them, which is very good.
So great Josites!
The laurels crested upon the University of Jos abound, ranging from aesthetic advantage to excellence in quality of programs and workforce. To mention but a few, it is noteworthy to highlight the leadership shown by the university in the area of information and communications technology, where the university has been ranked as #1 of the pioneers in excellence.
University of Jos is known as an ICT center in this country. It's the only place where I know that Cisco exam takes place in West Africa. There must be something good we're doing. We're able to do our computer-based tests independently without any external help. Not many universities can say that. All our large classes now, we do computer-based tests for them. And the result comes that same day.
In 1996, a group of women started what is known today as National Association of Women Academics, which actually went all over the country, and we started the association in all the universities in the country.
The first president of NAWACS, late Dr. Mrs. Ashton, championed it, gave her life for it, and then that was followed by Professor Irene Ogunloye at the national level. What did the National Association of Women Academics do to provide a watershed period for women? It was to bring women into a small forum and challenge them.
After that, the awareness became very, very great because people felt women were actually not doing very well in the university in terms of enrollment, in terms of employment, and also in terms of upward mobility in the university ladder, work ladder. So we now felt, what do we do? And so with that association, we now started to encourage ourselves to publish. We got mentors for ourselves, and that actually encouraged a lot of women and make women to begin gradually to have a voice, for women's voices to be heard in the university.
More women are being encouraged to pursue their PhDs and be wiser. More women are working harder, so the time you spend on PhD is getting shorter than it used to be. So University of Jos has come to become better.
For 15 years, I was only the female person, and I became the tomboy of the faculty because I have to join them to survive. We have a lot of women now, and they're doing well.
As the first female director, I thought it was by the grace of God, actually, because it has not been easy. And you know, we are playing in the field of men, because if I remember back, when I came to the system, I was the only female in the audit department. So it took determination and commitment to be where I am today.
Women were very few. There were just about 1 or 2 female professors. We have the highest number of female professors. Right now we have about 24 and 26 female professors.
Even where elective positions are to be undertaken, the Vice Chancellor would enact the gender policy so that female candidates are also encouraged to, are supported by the university community.
When it comes to gender policy, yes, we are the first in the whole of West Africa, the first university to have a gender policy. The University of Jos is known strongly for gender activism.
So I don't know how I emerged, but here I am, Teresa Mwesimadu, the first female Vice Chancellor admin in the history of the University of Jos.
Mother Nature would be unforgiving if we fail to give credit to AP Leventis Ornithological Research Institute for gracing us with a location and also for gracing us with a location and an assembly of birds who annually hold a worldwide conference within the confines of the university facilities.
During the European winter, food resources are very, very scarce or nearly unavailable. So if you stay back in Europe, you die of starvation. You fly out to here, you may die of starvation on the way. You may die of some other threats like hunting, bad weather on the way, and on the way back. But should you get here, you're safe and you find food. So they take that chance. And once they've come here and they found the insects or the berries, they go back next year. They don't have to go looking all over the place, they just come out here straight. There are some bird species here. We have trapped it, the same bird in the same location year in, year out, because it knows exactly where to come back to. In 1996, some guy, by way of acknowledgement, is Professor Robert Payne at the Museum of Natural History at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor campus in the US, came out here. He was interested in bird vocalizations, bird songs. So he came out here with a guy from TCNN, one Dr. Mark Hopkins. They were tape recording songs of birds in the reserve here. It wasn't a reserve at the time. And he recorded the song of a brood parasite. And it didn't sound like any of the other birds that he's ever come across. So he played back the song, and then another bird species turned up. And these two bird species had never been described in science. So in 1996, there was a publication coming out from there, the first description of these two birds, the Jos Plateau indigo bird, which is a brood parasite of the rock firefinch. Now, what I mean by brood parasitism is this group of birds called the indigo birds don't make nests, they don't incubate, they don't feed young. All they do is follow these other birds they're called finches. Once they find a host, the hosts will make the nest, and as soon as the female starts laying eggs, they also start putting their eggs in the same nest of the hosts. In this case, the rock firefinch. So the rock firefinches now incubate their eggs plus the eggs of the indigo bird. All of them hatch, and the rock firefinches take responsibility for raising the young ones. That's why they're called brood parasites. So the young ones of the rock firefinch and the indigo bird grow up together. And like it happens with humans, you see some of those children that have been, some of Nigerian children that have been born in the UK, they have that clear English accent, but they answer Nigerian names. So they said the rock firefinch, the indigo bird learns the song of the rock firefinch. So you hear him sing, you would think it's a rock firefinch, and that's how these two species were discovered as new to science that time. And following that came a program of BirdLife International to identify sites in Nigeria that are important. One, for bird conservation. We ran this program from 1996 through to 1998. And one of the sites that was identified as an important bird area was this place. And then there came Dr. A.P. Leventis of the Leventis family. He said, well, it is good to carry on this campaign. So what we will do is to set up in honor of these two bird species, which of course you see them in Nigeria and nowhere else in the whole world. Set up an institute here. The University of Jos was happy to take on this institute.
The University of Jos has achieved a lot, both nationally and internationally. And I'm very surprised to know that, because we have some very brilliant kids that have dedicated themselves to study and to achieve international recognition, repeat in their different categories. So apart from the students themselves, achieving individual prowess in academics, in research, in education and grading, the university itself is very well known. International community, world organizations, UNESCO, individuals have endowed a lot of programs.
Many of our lecturers have become vice chancellors in universities where they are not lecturers, which is not an easy thing to do, because normally people will want you to be a VC in your university, but people demand for lecturers from University of Jos to become vice chancellors elsewhere, and it has to be because there is something in us at the University of Jos.
Among the governors now, I know the number of my students. Senators, we have them. Inspector General of Police, we have them. So we are proud, we are happy. You see, I can even mention names. I know the number of students I taught that are in big place now.
University of Jos has produced, people of high standing all over the country right now. despite the shortcomings, University of Jos is still one of those universities that you count 5, you must, include it.
It is competing with any other in Nigeria and in the world.
Well, to a large extent, yes. I'm sure they will.
I would say to some degree.
We've had many of our staff who have become ministers. For instance, right now, the Minister of State for Education is from University of Jos. The past, immediate past Minister of State for Niger Delta Affairs was also from University of Jos. So many of them like that have been ministers. Professor Oyewesi Hai left from University of Jos to be a Minister of State for Health, Minister of State for Energy, for Power. So, and he's become an ambassador. We've had many of our lecturers and staff and students who've been ambassadors. In fact, the governor of Benue State is also alumni. Even Pius Ayim also finished from here. Rocha Sokorocha also finished from here. So we've had so many of our students who've achieved great things and our lecturers who've achieved great things. So I think our founders should sit down and clap.
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. They are products of University of Jos all over the globe today. I'm a proud father of a doctor that graduated from University of Jos. And the ladies, they are now at the University of Science, Medical Sciences in London, School of Hygiene and Medical Sciences in London. And I'm told it's one of the best postgraduate universities in the world. So you have them in their thousands all over the globe.
In terms of research, I am pretty sure that you are aware that a lot of people, a lot of lecturers in this university have won laureates into the university. And the university was also ranked amongst the highest in this country. That is to tell you that the vision and mission of the founding fathers of this university is being accomplished at a point.
I think our founding fathers, if they are still alive, I'm sure they are quite impressed. I mean, you must have interviewed quite a number of them. Those who are dead in their graves, I'm sure they are smiling. That those decisions they took in the early 70s have blossomed and become Iroko trees.
I think we're getting there. 40 years is a milestone. And over the years, our University of Jos has produced bright scholars and outstanding community leaders. University of Jos at 40 is worth celebrating. We might not say we've gotten there, but we'll definitely get there. Because the vision of this present administration is immeasurable, and then we cannot actually compare with any in recent times. So I believe we're getting to where the founding fathers actually wanted this university to be.
To a greater extent, I have the belief that the founding fathers have been able to realize their dream of the university, because is it in the area of medicine and other areas that we have the alumni of the university that are high flyers in various sectors, both within and in the diaspora. So we are getting the information, and that is a sign of fulfillment as far as I'm concerned.
They are dead, but if you were to come back, you would check the vice chancellor, check the deans, check the heads of departments, check the students, check the researchers, check everybody.
I see a bright future, a bright future.
I expect UniJos should be among the world-ranking universities.
It will be an international place.
Yes, I see progress. I believe, in fact, the progress will not be in arithmetical order, but in a geometrical order.
I believe that given a safe and peaceful environment, the university will thrive. It will actually excel in many areas.
At 50, I foresee university becoming one of the best 3 universities in Nigeria. As at now, I know it's highly rated, and I believe in 50 years' time, if we carry the tempo, this thing will come to pass, and everybody will be in a position, internet-wise, and even connected to the whole world. The university will be connected to the whole world. I know the rating will improve.
As we look ahead beyond 40 years, our hope, ASU, for the University of Jos is that the 3 new departments, faculties, veterinary medicine, agriculture, engineering, that has been set up by this administration would come to stay. They would have established themselves before we celebrate our 50 years, and graduated students, and the other universities where accreditation is half, partial accreditations, would get full accreditation. The university would have moved completely from its temporary site to the permanent site.
What Jos has in a special way is what I call the psychological impulsion to achieve. Just infuses it in you without you realizing it. So people work at it, but they don't realize that they've already carried it. So when they leave Jos, they show it. You don't need to show it when you are there. You just do it and succeed. But when you leave Jos, you show what stuff you are made of.